You're overreacting. It's just a wedding, my wife said when I wasn't invited to my own daughter's. Just a wedding. Let that sink in. Our daughter, was getting married. There were months of planning, secret phone calls between my wife, Denise, and our daughter, Madison. I was never looped in. At first, I thought it was the usual mother-daughter bonding thing. Dresses. Flowers. You know, stuff dads don't get into. I even joked about it. But when I noticed they'd go quiet whenever I entered a room or suddenly changed the topic, my gut started twisting. I pushed it down. Told myself I was being paranoid. But then came the bomb. The wedding invitation arrived by mail. Addressed to Denise Miller +1. I stared at that damn envelope like it was written in another language. I thought, there has to be a mistake. Maybe they printed it wrong. I called Madison immediately. She didn't pick up. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. An hour later, Denise walked in with her usual smug face, iced coffee in hand, sunglasses still on indoors. I showed her the envelope. And you know what she said? You're overreacting. It's just a wedding. That's when something inside me snapped. My fists clenched so hard, my nails broke skin. I asked her, why wasn't I invited? She rolled her eyes like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. Because Madison didn't want you there. She said it would be awkward. Awkward. I repeated. Awkward? I'm her father, Denise. She sipped her coffee, leaned on the kitchen island, and gave me this look, like I was dirt under her shoes. You made her childhood miserable with your moods. Your so-called discipline. She wants a day without drama. I was stunned. I'd never hit my daughter, never yelled at her. I worked 60 hours a week to keep that girl in private school, bought her first car, and helped her through her first breakup at 2 a.m. when Denise was passed out drunk on the couch after another girls' night. Denise, now smirking, added the final stab. Besides, I'm taking someone else. Silence. I asked, slowly, like a man who wasn't sure he even heard correctly, You're taking someone else to our daughter's wedding? She just nodded, as casual as telling me we were out of milk. That night, I booked a trip. Somewhere far. Somewhere I wouldn't have to see the wedding photos. Somewhere I wouldn't have to hear about the speeches, the toasts, the father-daughter dance that I wouldn't be part of. 3 days later, while I was walking along a quiet beach in Costa Rica, I turned on my phone. 12 missed calls. 7 voicemails. 32 text messages. All from family. All in a panic. The first voicemail was from my brother, shouting over some kind of commotion in the background. Look, where the hell are you? Call me back, man. Something went down at the wedding. You won't believe this sh*t. I stopped walking. The world around me went quiet, the sound of the waves fading into static. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I called him back. He picked up on the first ring. Bro, Denise brought her boy toy to the wedding. Madison's wedding. And guess what? The idiot made a toast, drunk off his *SS, called Madison his stepdaughter in front of everyone. Your mother fainted. Then Denise slapped Aunt Carol. Cops came. It was a total disaster. I didn't respond. Just held the phone to my ear, my jaw clenched, my vision blurry. Denise. Of course it was Denise. Of course she had a boy toy. Of course she ruined our daughter's wedding. And of course it took public embarrassment for everyone to see what I had been trying to swallow for the last 2 years. But it wasn't just about the wedding anymore. No. Something had snapped. And I needed to know everything. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Calculated. And now, I was done pretending not to see it. The mask was off. And I was going to uncover every filthy little lie she buried beneath that perfect smile. I flew home the next day. The moment I stepped through the front door, I felt it. This thick tension in the air, like the house itself was bracing for impact. Her shoes were in the hallway, the same heels she probably wore to the wedding. I stood there staring at them for a moment, imagining her walking in on the arm of some greasy bastard while our daughter smiled and pretended everything was normal. I heard her upstairs. Music playing, faintly. She was humming. I walked up slowly. No rush. Just soaking in every second of what was about to happen. She was in the bedroom, in front of the mirror, brushing her hair like nothing happened. She saw me in the reflection and said, "Oh, you're back early." I didn't answer. Just walked in and closed the door behind me. You didn't miss much, she continued, completely unfazed. The wedding was fine. A bit of drama, but you know how Carol gets. I stared at her. She turned and gave me that fake smile again, the one she's used for years. The one that used to fool me. So, how was Costa Rica? She asked, as if I'd just come home from a business trip. I took a step closer. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? She blinked. Find out what? The guy you brought. The one who made the speech. Her expression didn't even twitch. Oh, him. Who is he? Why does it matter? She asked with a shrug. You left, remember? You booked yourself a nice little vacation while your daughter got married. That's what people will remember. I felt my stomach twist. I left because I wasn't invited. You could have fought harder, she said, turning back to the mirror. You could have tried. But no, you ran away. Again. I snapped. I ran away? I stayed in this house while you treated me like I was invisible. I stayed when you came home at 2 a.m. reeking of perfume that wasn't yours. I stayed when I found the receipt for the hotel room on your card. You think I didn't know? You think I didn't notice your phone always flipped face down, your password suddenly changing, your late-night showers? She stayed quiet for a moment. Then, you sound pathetic. That word hit harder than any slap. I took a breath. Who is he? She finally looked at me. His name is Derek. He's younger than you. Fitter. Doesn't sulk around the house. And when I talk, he actually listens instead of staring at his phone or acting like everything's a damn problem. I laughed bitterly. So this is what you trade years of marriage for? A gym rat with a good jawline and no responsibilities. At least he makes me feel alive, she snapped. You haven't touched me in months. I stepped back, like her words physically shoved me. Because every time I looked at you, I saw someone who wasn't mine anymore. She stood up, now defensive. You think you're some kind of victim in all this? You were never there. Look. Always working. Always tired. You stopped trying years ago. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All those nights I stayed late, pushing overtime just so we could afford vacations, gifts, Madison's college. She saw that as me not trying? I shook my head slowly. You really are something else. Oh, please, she said, arms crossed. You're just mad because someone else wanted me and you didn't. There was silence. And then I said it. Pack your things. She laughed. Excuse me. You heard me. I'm done. You crossed a line, Denise. Not just with me, but with Madison. With the whole family. You humiliated everyone. This isn't about just a fling anymore. This is about who you've become. She stepped closer. You think you're going to kick me out of this house? I'll call Madison right now. I'll tell her you're being abusive. I'll make one post online and you'll be the villain. That's how easy it is for women now. Look. Wake up. I stared at her. No more anger. Just cold, clear realization. You won't need to, I said. Because I'm leaving. But I'm taking every shred of evidence with me. Every screenshot, every bank record, every receipt, every lie. I'm done being the quiet one. I turned to walk out, but she grabbed my arm. Her voice lowered, suddenly less smug. Luke, don't do this. I looked her in the eyes. You already did. I pulled my arm free and walked downstairs. Each step felt like closing a chapter. By the time I hit the driveway, I already knew where I was going next. To someone who still respected me. To someone who deserved to know the truth. Madison. I drove straight to Madison's place. My hands were gripping the wheel so hard they ached. I hadn't seen her in weeks, months, maybe. The last time we talked properly, she told me she was busy with wedding plans and that we'd catch up after the big day. Now, I knew what that really meant. Busy choosing who got to stand by her on the most important day of her life, and I didn't even make the list. When I pulled up, there were still balloons and white ribbons on the mailbox. My stomach twisted. The celebration had already happened, and I hadn't even been considered a part of it. I rang the bell. Her husband, well, new husband, opened the door. Jason. Polite, soft-spoken, the kind of guy who calls everyone sir and says God bless after sneezing. I didn't hate him, but I didn't know him either. Mr. Miller, he said, surprised. Madison's upstairs. Come in. I stepped into the house, glancing around at the decorations. Photos on the walls, one giant print of Madison in her wedding dress on the staircase wall. She looked happy. Beautiful. Like the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders at the fair. But I didn't recognize the man standing beside her. I mean, yeah, it was Jason, but it should have been me in that picture too. Standing on her left, giving her away, smiling through tears. But I was invisible. Madison came down the stairs slowly. She wasn't smiling. Dad, she said softly. Can we talk? I asked, voice low. Alone. Jason took the hint and nodded, disappearing into the kitchen. Madison motioned to the living room. We sat, and for a second, neither of us spoke. Why? I finally asked. She looked down at her hands. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Then how was it supposed to happen? I said. You and your mother schemed for months, invite her boyfriend to your wedding, and leave me out like I don't even exist? It wasn't about you, she said. It was about keeping the peace. Keeping the peace? I repeated. You thought not inviting your own father would keep the peace? She swallowed. Mom said you'd make a scene, that you'd judge Jason, or criticize the ceremony, or... That's what she told you? I said, heart pounding. Madison, do you know how many nights I worked late to pay for your schooling? How many arguments I had with your mom just to make sure you had the life you deserved? You think I would have ruined your day? Tears welled in her eyes, but I wasn't letting her off that easy. She brought a man to your wedding, I said. A man she's been sneaking around with for months. He gave a toast, called you his stepdaughter, and nearly started a fistfight at the reception. That's what you picked over me. Madison finally broke down. I didn't know he was coming. I froze. What? I swear, Dad. Mom told me she was bringing her friend Karen. She said you were going to be out of the country and that it was better this way. She said you were cold and bitter and you didn't care anymore. That hit me harder than anything. She poisoned you against me, I said quietly. She turned my own daughter against me so she could play out some sick fantasy with her boy toy. Madison nodded slowly, wiping her cheeks. I didn't want to believe it until he opened his mouth. Then I realized, you weren't the problem. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Years of memories swirled in my head. Birthday parties, scraped knees, homework at the kitchen table. I had been there for all of it. And Denise erased me with a few whispered lies. I want to fix this, Madison said. Please. I looked at her. My daughter. My blood. Fixing this means telling the truth, I said. To everyone. To Grandma. To the family. Because right now, they think I bailed. They think I was some bitter old man who couldn't even show up. I'll tell them, she whispered. I'll tell them everything. I stood up, feeling hollow but focused. One more thing, I added. You're married now. And trust me, betrayal doesn't always come with a warning. You love Jason, right? More than anything, she said. Then don't let anyone, twist your truth. Not even family. Learn from what your mom did. Love is about loyalty, not convenience. She nodded, silent tears running down her cheeks. As I walked out, Jason gave me a small nod of respect. But when I got in the car, I didn't feel victorious. I felt broken. I'd gotten answers. I'd been heard. But something inside me had changed forever. And when I looked at my phone and saw Denise's name flashing across the screen again, I didn't hesitate. I hit block. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses down on your chest when you're lying awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell you missed it all happening right under your nose. Denise hadn't called or texted again. Not since I blocked her. But I knew she wouldn't go quietly. That woman thrived on control, and me walking away from her chaos wasn't part of her script. So I waited. And sure enough, the storm came. It started with a knock at the door. I opened it to find Denise standing there like she still owned the place, tight dress, sunglasses pushed up on her head, fake tan glowing under the porch light. Her lips curled into a smirk like she was expecting me to beg her to come back. Can we talk? She asked, already stepping inside. I didn't stop her. I just followed her into the living room, arms crossed, saying nothing. You've made quite the scene, she started, dropping her purse on the table. Madison called me crying, said you filled her head with all kinds of crap. I narrowed my eyes. Truth isn't crap, Denise. It's just something you're not used to hearing. She laughed short, sharp, and hollow. Oh, please. You're acting like I'm some villain. Like I planned this whole thing to hurt you. You did plan it, I snapped. You lied. You manipulated our daughter. You brought your damn lover to her wedding like it was some kind of joke. Her eyes flashed. Don't call him that. Why not? That's what he is, isn't he? Or do you have another one stashed away somewhere too? That hit a nerve. She stiffened. I'm not here to fight, she said, suddenly softening her tone. I'm here because we need to figure things out. The house. The finances. Madison's caught in the middle of this. Don't you dare act like you care about Madison, I growled. You didn't care when you left me out of the biggest day of her life. You didn't care when you brought a stranger into our home behind my back. Don't act like the mother of the year now. She stood there, silent for a moment, and then her voice turned cold. You really think you're going to come out of this looking clean? You think people won't believe me when I say you were emotionally abusive? That you pushed me away? There it was. The threat. I knew it would come. You can try, I said. But I've got receipts, Denise. I've got screenshots, texts, bank statements, hotel bills, timestamps, and more. You want to go to war? Fine, but I don't think you'll like how it ends. For a second, I saw something rare in her eyes. Fear. She grabbed her purse slowly, tried to mask her shaken breath. You always were dramatic. And you always were fake. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the house. That night, I opened a folder I'd been keeping for months. Something in me had known, even before the wedding drama, that something was wrong. I had everything. The calls to unknown numbers, the receipts from hotels near her office, even the photos of her car parked outside that Jim Derrick worked at. I had built a case. Quietly. Carefully. I wasn't planning to go nuclear, not yet. But I wasn't going to let her drag me down either. The next day, I went to see a lawyer. I laid it all out, every detail. She read through everything, her expression growing tighter with each document. You've got more than enough, she said, looking up at me. Infidelity. Emotional distress. You'll walk out of this with everything you need. I nodded, but it didn't feel like a win. It felt like putting a dying animal out of its misery. When I left the office, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my sister, Laura. Hey, she said. I just wanted to tell you. I saw the pictures. From the wedding. And I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. She embarrassed herself. Not you, she continued. Everyone saw it. The whole family's behind you now. I stared out the windshield of my parked car, watching raindrops slide down the glass like they were racing each other to disappear first. Thanks, I finally said. It's not over yet, but I'm getting there. After we hung up, I just sat there, hands on the wheel, engine off, thinking. Denise had always been good at making me doubt myself, twisting guilt like a knife until I started believing I deserved it, that I was the problem. But now, I wasn't that man anymore. She lit the match. Now she gets to watch the flames. A few days passed. Silence again. The kind that comes not from peace, but from someone plotting their next move. I knew Denise too well, she wouldn't just disappear. She needed control. Needed to be the one who pulled the strings. So when the email arrived, I wasn't surprised. But what was in it? That made my blood boil. Subject, let's talk, for Madison's sake. Attached were scanned pages. A letter from her lawyer. Denise had officially filed first. Divorce. Not just that, she was asking for spousal support. Half the house. Half my retirement. And get this, she claimed emotional abuse. Said she felt unsafe in the home, that I had abandoned her emotionally for years, that I'd neglected the marriage. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. That woman had cheated, lied, humiliated me in front of family and friends, and now she wanted money? Sympathy? To win? I called my lawyer. She laughed. Let her play her game, she said. This'll be fun. It didn't feel fun. It felt humiliating. But I knew what I had to do. Over the next week, I built a file. I printed everything: texts, emails, timestamped messages, photos, bank statements. Even her flirty Instagram DMs with Derrick, which he hadn't even tried to hide. Moron left his profile public. He was dumb enough to post a picture of Denise in lingerie at his place with the caption, "She said she loves me more than her boring husband." Sorry, not sorry. I screenshotted it. Every comment. Every like. Every disgusting reply she made. Let her lawyer chew on that. But here's the thing. I wasn't just doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing it because for once, I wanted people to see her for who she really was. Not the sweet little suburban mom she pretended to be at brunch. Not the supportive wife she played in public. The mask had to come off completely. The court date was set. Meanwhile, Denise made the rounds, trying to charm the family back to her side. I got texts from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years asking what really happened. I ignored them. Let them squirm. Let them sit in their confusion until the truth hit them like it hit me, sharp and slow, like a knife sliding between ribs. But not everyone was fooled. One night, around 10 p.m., there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there stood Madison. Alone. She looked tired. Her makeup was smeared, like she'd been crying. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside without a word. We sat in the kitchen. She didn't touch her tea. Just held the cup like she needed something warm to remind her this wasn't a nightmare. She came to our place, she said. Told Jason and me that you were trying to destroy her. That you hacked her accounts. That you were abusive. She cried. Screamed. Said you ruined the wedding. That Derrick was just a friend. I waited. But then she left her phone on the counter while she was in the bathroom, Madison continued, her voice barely above a whisper. It lit up. A message from him. Can't wait to do what we did last night again, winking face. I didn't even blink. She came back. Realized I saw it, Madison said, voice breaking. You know what she did? Laughed. Said I was just a kid who didn't understand grown-up relationships. Said, your dad will never win. I'll bleed him dry. That last line hit like a punch. Not just because it was cruel, but because I knew she meant it. I'm sorry, Dad, Madison whispered, finally crying. I didn't see her for what she was. I thought she loved us both. I placed my hand over hers. You don't need to apologize. You were trying to love your mom. There's nothing wrong with that. She leaned into my shoulder like she used to when she was a little girl. And for a moment, in that quiet kitchen, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. This wasn't just about a cheating wife anymore. This was about reclaiming my life from someone who thought they could lie, cheat, manipulate, and still come out looking like the victim. No more. I want to testify for you, Madison said suddenly. If this goes to court, I want them to know what really happened. I nodded slowly. That means more to me than you know. After she left, I sat at my desk and stared at the divorce paperwork again. This time, I didn't feel rage. I felt focus. She wanted war? Fine. But she forgot one thing. I don't lose twice. The morning of the hearing, I didn't feel nerves. I felt cold, like someone who'd already buried the body and was just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. I wore a dark gray suit, simple, clean, and nothing flashy. I didn't need drama. I had the truth. Denise showed up 20 minutes late, of course. She always had to make an entrance. Her hair done to perfection, lips painted red like a warning sign. She walked in like she was the victim, like the room owed her sympathy. Derek wasn't with her, probably still licking his wounds from the family backlash. I didn't look at her. Not once. Our lawyers handled most of the conversation. Denise's attorney, a slick guy named Victor with a gold watch and fake compassion, opened with his usual performance. He painted her as a devoted wife who had suffered emotional neglect in a loveless household. I almost laughed out loud. Then it was our turn. My lawyer laid everything out like a well-written script. The timeline, the receipts, the screenshots, the text from Derek, the Instagram post, the gym check-ins that matched her location history, every lie carefully countered with hard evidence. Then she dropped the final hammer, Madison's sworn statement, signed and dated. The judge's expression didn't change much, but I could tell he wasn't buying Denise's crocodile tears anymore. Denise kept glancing over at me during the hearing, waiting for me to react. I didn't. I sat still, eyes forward, like she wasn't even there. That silence? It was louder than anything I could have said. After hours of back and forth, the session adjourned. No decision yet, more documents needed to be reviewed. But the damage was done. Outside the courtroom, Denise finally cornered me. You smug bastard, she hissed, stepping close. You think you've won? This isn't over. I looked her dead in the eye. You're right, I said calmly. It's just beginning. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. And maybe she didn't. Because the man she used to twist around her finger was gone. Replaced with someone who'd already lived through the worst and came out colder, sharper. Do you know what it's like to feel invisible in your own home? I said. To have your daughter's wedding planned behind your back? To find out the woman you've loved for 20 years has been laughing behind your back with a guy half your age. She rolled her eyes. Spare me the pity party. Oh, there's no pity, I said. There's just facts. And the fact is, you ruined your own life. All I did was stop covering for you. She turned and stormed off like she always did when she had nothing left to say. Later that night, I got a call from Madison. She and Jason had seen the online chaos. Denise had tried to twist the story on Facebook, posting vague quotes about narcissistic men and how she was finally free. But the comments weren't going the way she hoped. And Carol wrote, "Is that what freedom looks like? Bringing your boyfriend to a wedding and slapping people?" Uncle Tom replied, "Pretty bold move to accuse your husband of abuse when you've been sneaking around with your trainer for 6 months." It was like watching a snake writhe in sunlight. The more she moved, the clearer people saw what she really was. I didn't reply to any of it. Didn't need to. I spent the evening packing the last of her things. Everything she'd left behind. Her shoes, makeup, photos. Even that dumb scented candle she always lit after her fake gym sessions. I boxed it all up and left it on the porch. Then I sat on the couch with a beer, stared at the blank TV, and let myself breathe for the first time in months. The pain was still there, of course it was. You don't spend 2 decades building a life with someone and walk away without scars. But the betrayal? It didn't own me anymore. I could feel the rage slowly turning into resolve. She took so much. My trust, my time, my dignity. But what she didn't take, what she couldn't take, was my backbone. And that was the one thing I still had left to fight with. Weeks passed. The court process dragged on as expected. Motions, hearings, more letters from her overpriced lawyer, full of fake concern and veiled threats. But I didn't flinch. Every time another envelope showed up in the mail, I added it to the growing pile on my desk. Her lies were a joke now. Predictable, exhausting, but harmless. Like a dog barking behind a locked gate. Then came the unexpected twist. I was at work when I got the call from Derek. Yeah, Derek. I didn't even know how he got my number, but there it was, his name flashing on my screen like a cockroach crawling across white linen. For a second, I considered ignoring it. But curiosity won. I answered. What do you want? He sighed on the other end, clearly nervous. Look, man. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you. You think? I snapped. After screwing my wife and showing up to my daughter's wedding like some discount soap opera character? He didn't fight back. Yeah, I deserve that. I know. Silence. Then he dropped it. She's screwing someone else now. I didn't say a word. Yeah, he continued, voice low. Guy named Tyler. Some marketing exec. Met him at one of those fundraisers she dragged me to. I caught her texting him. She denied it. Said I was paranoid, just like she said about you. But 2 nights ago, she didn't come home. I tracked her phone. She was at his condo. I let that hang for a second. Then said, flatly, you got what you signed up for. I know, he muttered. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would end up like this. You thought she was going to bake you cookies and rub your back every night? She used you, Derek. Just like she used me. And now she's moving on to her next idiot. He sighed again, then added something I didn't expect. She said she wants to get pregnant. With his kid. That caught me off guard. For years, she'd told me she didn't want another child. Said one was enough. That she was done with diapers and bottles. We even fought about it. I let go of that dream because I loved her. And now she wanted to start over? With some stranger? I hung up. No goodbye. No reaction. I didn't owe him a single extra second of my time. That night, I sat on the porch, cold drink in hand. Just thinking. Not angry anymore, just still. Like the calm after a fire, where all that's left is ash and silence. My lawyer called the next day. She's backed off the spousal support demand, she said. Claims she's met someone new and doesn't want to cling to the past. I laughed. Loud and long. Let her go. Let her cling to some new fantasy. Let her lie her way into another disaster. I wasn't going to stop her. I was done cleaning up her mess. The judge finalized everything 2 weeks later. I got the house. My retirement. My dignity. She got whatever was waiting for her on the other side of all her lies. The day the divorce was official, Madison and Jason came over. They brought dinner, just the 3 of us. Madison cooked, her mom never did. We sat outside, candles on the table, laughter floating up into the night air like a language I hadn't spoken in years. At one point, Madison leaned over and said, "You look lighter." And maybe I was. Because I wasn't carrying her anymore. I wasn't begging for honesty. I wasn't watching my back every time she picked up her phone. I was free. Later that night, after they left, I walked through the house slowly, room by room. I stopped in the hallway, stared at an old picture of Denise and me, the kind you keep out of habit, not sentiment. I pulled it off the wall and dropped it in the trash. She wasn't part of my story anymore. She was just the storm I survived. A month passed. The dust had settled, the court was behind me, and for the first time in what felt like forever, my mornings didn't start with a pit in my stomach. But it was strange how silence could be louder than the chaos I'd grown used to. No more slamming doors. No more fake apologies. No more tiptoeing around her moods. Just the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, and my own breathing. At first, it felt like loneliness. But after a while, I realized what it really was: peace. Still, I didn't let my guard down. Not fully. Because I knew Denise. And people like her don't walk away quietly. Sure enough, it started again. A message. A casual, "Hey," from an unknown number. Then another one the next day. "You around? Can we talk? I miss you." I didn't answer. I blocked the number. Then came the email. No subject line. Just 5 words. "Do you ever miss me?" I didn't open it. I didn't need to. That was her game planting seeds. Testing cracks in the wall she helped build and tear down. But there were no cracks left. Later that week, I ran into her mother at the grocery store. Nancy, sweet woman, always looked at me like I was the son she never had. She stopped me by the produce section, her face full of discomfort. She told me she wants to come home, she said. I blinked. Home. Nancy nodded, voice quiet. She says she made a mistake. That things didn't work out with that guy. Or the one after him. I gave a dry laugh. There were more. Nancy didn't answer. Didn't need to. She's not coming back here, I said calmly. Not now. Not ever. I figured, Nancy said. I had to say it. For her. She's my daughter, Luke. I get it, I said. But your daughter lit a match and watched me burn. She's not getting another chance. Nancy looked down, ashamed. She didn't argue. She just nodded and walked away. That night, I opened my journal. One I hadn't touched in years. I started writing, not about her, but about me. About everything I let slide. About how I shrank myself to keep the peace. How I thought compromise meant swallowing pain. And how I was done with that version of myself. Because the truth was, I had spent so much of my marriage trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. Trying to hold on to a woman who wore loyalty like a costume and love like a tool. And I had paid for it, emotionally, financially, even physically. But I'd survived. And now? I was rebuilding. Slowly. Quietly. A few weeks later, Madison surprised me with something. A framed photo of us from her graduation. Just the two of us. She'd added a quote at the bottom. The ones who stay silent are often the strongest. I put it on my nightstand. Not as a reminder of the past, but as proof that I made it out. That I didn't lose. I lived. And I'd never go back to the version of me that let Denise take pieces of my soul and pretend it was love. She'll move on. She'll lie to someone else. She'll paint herself as the victim in some new story. Let her. That chapter's closed. That book is burned. And I'm already halfway through writing the next one. Summer came. The kind of summer that makes everything feel lighter. Air, skin, heart. I found myself sitting outside more often, doing nothing in particular. Just existing. Watching the wind move the trees. Listening to birds. Letting the silence be a friend instead of something to fear. One morning, I got a message from an old college buddy, Ethan. We hadn't talked in years, not since before the whole mess with Denise began. He'd heard about the divorce through the grapevine and wanted to grab a drink. I said yes. Not because I needed to talk, but because it felt like the kind of thing a normal man does when he's living again instead of surviving. We met at a quiet bar downtown. Nothing fancy. Just wood floors, old music, and a bartender who didn't ask too many questions. Ethan raised his glass and grinned. You look different. Divorce does that, I said, smirking. He leaned in. I heard bits and pieces. Never knew it was that bad. Most people didn't, I said. She made sure of that. We talked for hours. About life. About stupid things we did in college. About how things get away from you without you realizing it. How you wake up one day and wonder when the hell you stopped recognizing the person in your own bed. Before we left, he said something I didn't expect. You know, you're not bitter. That's rare. I thought about that. Was I bitter? Maybe. But mostly, I was tired of carrying her mess. I wasted too much time being angry, I said. Now I'm just focused on what's left of me. What's worth keeping? A week later, I saw Denise again. Not in person. On the news. Local segment. Fundraiser gala. There she was, arm wrapped around some suited man with slicked back hair and a forced smile. She looked thinner. Tighter. Like she was trying to wear the years off her face with makeup and lighting. I watched for exactly 30 seconds before turning off the TV. Let her chase whatever version of happiness she thought she deserved. I had something better. Clarity. Later that evening, Madison called. She and Jason were expecting. My first grandchild. I wanted you to be the first to know, she said, her voice full of something I hadn't heard in a while, pure joy. I didn't cry, but my throat tightened. I'll be there for everything, I said. Every step. And I meant it. No missed moments. No whispered lies. No more being pushed out of my own life. When I hung up, I looked around the house. It felt different now. Warmer. Like it belonged to me again. The ghost of her perfume no longer lingered in the hallways. Her voice didn't echo in the walls. Her absence wasn't a wound anymore. It was a clean scar. A story with an ending. That night, I poured a drink, stepped outside, and sat on the porch. The stars were out. Air was still. And I felt good. Not just okay. Good. Denise would keep moving from man to man, lie to lie, thinking every new start was the one that would fix her. But you can't build peace on a pile of broken promises. And me? I finally had peace. No more pretending. No more bleeding for someone who couldn't even hand me a Band-Aid. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. The first time I smiled without forcing it was at the park, watching a group of kids chase each other near the fountain. One of them tripped, skinned his knee, and got up laughing like it didn't even matter. I don't know why it hit me the way it did, but it did. That kind of resilience. That refusal to let a fall ruin your day. I thought about all the times Denise knocked me down, quietly, behind closed doors, with those sharp little comments designed to cut deep without leaving marks. And how I used to take it, thinking that's what love was, enduring the blade with a smile because you were scared of what would happen if you dropped it. Not anymore. I started doing things I used to love but had abandoned somewhere along the line. I picked up my guitar again, found it buried in the attic, still dusty from years of neglect. The strings were dead, but they would still sing when I touched it. I played old songs, new ones, made up melodies with no lyrics, just emotion. The house wasn't silent anymore. It was full of music. And for once, it wasn't being drowned out by someone slamming drawers or pacing the floors in stilettos at midnight while pretending they were just stressed from work. I repainted the bedroom, took down the old gray she loved and replaced it with a deep green. Something calming. Something that didn't remind me of her eyes, or the way she used to look at me like I was a burden she regretted picking up. I donated the last of her things. Every scarf, every shoe, every bottle of overpriced perfume. I didn't keep a single trace. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't need reminders of a life I no longer lived. One night, I got a message from Derek again. This time, it was just one line. You were right. I didn't reply. Some lessons don't need lectures. They just need time. And clearly, he'd had his share of hers. Denise didn't reach out again. Maybe she finally realized I was done. Or maybe she was too busy telling some new guy her sob story, how she was trapped in a loveless marriage with a man who never appreciated her. Let her have it. Let her rewrite the narrative if it helped her sleep. I wasn't losing any more sleep over her. Madison invited me to the ultrasound appointment. Seeing that tiny blur on the screen, hearing the heartbeat, it was like someone handed me a new beginning. A future that didn't include lies and betrayal. Just love. Real love. I held her hand, and she looked at me with the same eyes she had when she was 5 and scared of thunderstorms. And I thought, this is it. This is what matters. This is what I kept going for. The pain didn't vanish. It never really does. It just changes, dulls, softens around the edges until it becomes a scar you barely notice anymore. And if you're lucky, you start to feel proud of it. Not for the wound, but for the healing. Sometimes I catch myself wondering what would have happened if Denise had been honest. If she'd told me she was unhappy. If she'd fought for us instead of against me. But then I remind myself, some people don't want peace. They only feel alive when there's chaos. And I'm not in the business of bleeding for people who love the sound of their own damage. I didn't win anything flashy. There was no movie ending. No dramatic apology or grand redemption. Just a man, finally free, finally whole, finally home in his own skin. Fall rolled in like a soft sigh, cooler mornings, earlier sunsets, leaves turning the color of fire before dropping one by one. Everything felt quieter, slower, but not empty. Peaceful. Like life was finally letting me exhale. I'd gotten used to being alone. Not in a bitter, lonely kind of way, but in a clean, uncluttered way. There were no more games, no mind reading, no wondering who was lying and when. I knew where everything was, both in my house and in my head. Madison called more often. She'd send baby name ideas, videos of her baby bump, little voice notes saying, "You're gonna be the best grandpa." Sometimes I'd just replay them at night before bed, not because I needed reassurance, but because it reminded me what survival gave me, a second chance to be present. And then one afternoon, while walking downtown with a coffee, I saw her. Denise. Standing outside a boutique in heels too high for her age, sunglasses on even though it was overcast, laughing way too hard at something some man beside her had just said. He wasn't Derek. He wasn't the last one, either. Just another suit. Another guy that hadn't figured her out yet. She didn't see me. Or if she did, she pretended not to. I didn't stop walking. Didn't flinch. But a strange calm settled over me like a quiet curtain closing. She didn't matter anymore. The anger was gone. The betrayal? Just a chapter. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her to crash and burn. I didn't even care if she found happiness. Let her chase whatever fantasy she needed to feel whole. That was no longer my problem to fix. That night, I met a woman. Not in some forced dating app kind of way. Just two people reaching for the same book at a bookstore. She laughed when our hands touched the cover at the same time. One of those genuine laughs, no filters, no hidden meanings. Her name was Claire. Divorced too. Two grown kids. Wore no makeup. Her eyes told the truth before her mouth even opened. We had coffee. Talked for hours like time had no business interrupting us. No expectations. No masks. Just two people with scars that didn't scare each other. And that's when I knew Denise was my lesson. Claire might be my peace. You never forget what betrayal feels like. You never fully erase the sting of knowing the person you trusted most used that trust as a weapon. But if you're lucky, if you survive it, grow through it, you come out the other side with something even stronger. Boundaries. Self-worth. The ability to look someone in the eye and say, you don't get to break me. I wasn't broken. I was rebuilt. And this time, no one gets to touch the foundation but me. Winter came. Not the cruel kind, but the quiet one, where the world slows down and everything feels still, reflective. I'd always hated this season. The cold, the gray skies, the long nights. But this time, I welcomed it. There was something honest about it. No pretending. Just truth in its rawest form. And I learned to love the truth, even when it hurt. One morning, I stood at the window with a mug of coffee, watching the first snowfall. It wasn't dramatic. Just soft flakes drifting down, covering the lawn like a clean slate. I thought about everything that had happened. Every lie, every fight. Every night I lay awake wondering what I did wrong. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel pain when I thought of her. I felt nothing. Not hate. Not bitterness. Just the final silence of something that had died long ago, and now, at last, was buried. The house was warm. Madison had knitted a tiny blue blanket for the baby. She sent me a picture the night before, Jason asleep on the couch, her feet in his lap, the blanket folded on her belly. My grandson was due in a few weeks. My grandson. It still hit me in waves. I was already planning to build a crib in the spare room. I had tools, wood, time, and finally, the peace of mind to do it right. No distractions. No drama. Just purpose. Claire and I still talked. No pressure. Just easy connection. She understood silence the way I did. Understood that sometimes, healing doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like making dinner for two and not flinching when the phone rings. One night, as we were walking back to our cars after a late dinner, she asked, if you could go back and undo it all, erase her completely, would you? I thought about it. About the years with Denise. The betrayals. The sleepless nights. The look on Madison's face when she realized what her mother had done. The pain. Then I thought about who I'd become because of it. The strength I'd been forced to find. The freedom I'd earned. And I said, no, I wouldn't. She nodded. Not surprised. She understood. Because the truth is, some scars teach you who you are. I learned to speak up. To stand my ground. To stop accepting half-love in exchange for full loyalty. I learned that being a good man doesn't mean being a quiet one. That real love never demands your silence. So if someone asked me now what I'd tell another man going through what I went through, I'd tell him this. She will lie. She will twist your words. She will make you question your own memory. She will smile while she's burning your world down. And you will ache in places you didn't know existed. But don't beg. Don't chase. Don't let her rewrite your worth. Stand up. Speak the truth. Hold the line. And one day, when the silence finally settles, you'll realize you didn't lose her. You found yourself. And that's the only win that ever mattered.